this was supposed to be a weekly apostate, or sometimes with apostate, or occasionally with apostate prophet, or something like that. I don't know. I completely messed it up because I cannot really stick to my schedule on making this a weekly thing or a bi-weekly thing. But anyway, I'm here today with Armin Navabi, who is joining me here today for my talk on Monday. Hi, Armin. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you for having me. I missed you.
I miss you too. Everyone misses you.
And happy Atheist Day.
Oh, thank you. Today is Atheist Day. Happy Atheist Day to you. Do you want to explain what Atheist Day is?
Well, Atheist Day is a day to just remember that there's a lot of us out there, and also that to normalize atheism, to remember that there are a lot of atheists around the world that are feeling isolated, discriminated against, ostracized, and in many Islamic countries, tortured, killed, imprisoned, executed by the government, harassed, and basically just if you're an atheist that doesn't experience any of these things, then lucky you. Try to be open about the fact that you're atheist if you're that lucky, so that you could normalize it for the rest of the atheists around the world, so that this becomes something normal, not something that is demonized, not something that people look down upon. You don't even have to be an atheist to celebrate Atheist Day. You could be a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or a Hindu that recognizes that it's not okay to mistreat atheists for their atheism. And on Atheist Day, you could use it as an excuse to say that you're not okay with that and that you condemn that. And even though you don't agree with atheists, you don't think it's okay to attack them or demonize them in any way.
Thank you so much.
You can use the hashtag, if you want to mention any of that, by the way, on social media, use the hashtag Atheist Day.
Atheist Day. Hashtag Atheist Day. So what's important here is that there are people who may not be atheists. I think I have a big audience that is not just that doesn't just consist of atheists. I have a lot of people from different backgrounds, different religious beliefs, and all that. And those people might think, why would I support Atheist Day, or why would I support atheism? Why would I support this? Or they would say, isn't it very easy in the West to be an atheist today, and all that? And you could say that, of course, but I think it's very important to remember that there is, especially in the Islamic world, which is a topic that I quite frequently talk about, there is a trend, an uprising, a huge rise of people turning toward atheism, of people turning toward disbelief, toward deism or atheism, and atheism is basically it is banned in several countries in the Islamic world. It is a taboo. It is hated. It is persecuted, and it is always good to show solidarity in that regard. So that's what this is about.
And even in countries where atheism is it's not a risk for you to be an atheist, it's still looked down upon, right? Even there was a study in UBC, University of British Columbia, that showed that atheists are at that time when the study was done, there was only one other group that was the same as atheists, but atheists were the least trusted group demographic in North America, and Canada and United States. They were the least trusted group. They were below Muslims, right? To be an atheist. And the only other group that the atheists were not below was the rapists, right? So imagine if that's how people look at atheists in Canada, United States. Imagine how they look at them in the rest of the world, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just about seeing atheists that around. This is how being gay was normalized, right? By people just openly saying that they're gay. A lot of people being transparent about it, and a whole bunch of people keep meeting gay people, and people become desensitized to it, right? So, I mean, a lot of atheists are like, you know what, I'm an atheist, but I don't use that label because I don't want to cause any conflict with people. well, if it's safe for you, try to use that label because, you know, free thinkers are not demonized around the world. Agnostics are not demonized. Humanists are not demonized, right? Skeptics are not demonized. It's the eight, you know, you could use all those labels, and all those labels are great. And I use all of them in different, depending on the conversation that I'm having. But I use atheist the most because that's the one that is demonized. Being an atheist is the one that you get demonized. So if you can, if it's safe for you, please use that label so that we could normalize it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Fair point. Good point. I mean, can anyone quickly tell me if there is a distortion in the sound? I think some people say that there is a distortion in your sound. That you should hold your microphone a little bit away from you or something like that. I don't know, or that it's too loud. I don't know what that
I
is.
have the live chat here. Am I not seeing the live chat?
Huh?
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I missed a whole bunch of chat.
Yeah, I think people are just saying that your sound is a little bit distorted, gets a little bit distorted. It might not be.
Need a fan? Should I turn off the fan?
Or maybe that is it in front of you? If that is the case, then maybe did you turn it off?
All right, turn off the fan. Is that better?
I don't know. Maybe it might just be my setup too. It might just be my setup too. My whole system is currently is working so hard. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. So I was even afraid that the stream might crash at some point, and it might just be on my side as well. I just need a whole new setup and a whole new computer and all that.
How's the audio now? Somebody tell us in the live chat. I have the live chat in front.
How is the audio now?
So,
Please, everyone, just tell us quickly how the audio is. Otherwise, we'll
yes,
go on.
somebody's asking if we're both atheists. Yes, we're both atheists.
Yeah, we are. I'm not really active about my whole atheism. It's because I just have a kind of different philosophy. We talked about that together before. I talk about that sometimes. I talk about that with David Wood sometimes, because some people ask me if why I'm working with David Wood, because since he's an atheist, since he's a Christian, but I'm an atheist. I just don't actively. I don't actively try to rid the world of religion. I would say, or convince more people to become atheists. I'm just not focused on that for many different reasons that I would talk about forever. But yeah, I am basically I don't believe in God, which makes me an atheist.
Yeah, a lot of people think that we all should have to do the same thing, and there's only one way to do it. And there's no, like, people, like, I think, it's very strange. People like, oh, so and so, you should be more like that YouTuber. He focuses on the right thing. No, maybe we need YouTubers that focus on this, and some other YouTubers focus on something else, and some other activists that do podcasts. Like, why do everybody have to focus on the thing that are, like, oh, Islam, everybody should just focus on Islam or nothing else. And some people are saying, no, you have to attack all religions equally, and if you focus on a religion, that's not the right way. There is no right way. If you want to focus on Islam, focus on Islam. If you want to do all religions, do all religions. If you want to focus on Christianity, focus on Christianity, right? If you don't like if somebody that only attacks Christianity and not on no other religions, then don't consume their content. It's pretty easy. Just go to the YouTuber that focuses on the thing that you like that they focus on. If you like a YouTuber that only focuses on Islam, then Apostle Prophet is YouTuber for you, right? Like, and not everybody has to do the same content.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just so pissed right now about the whole thing, about the whole.
How do I? People are saying how do I don't have the audio setting. The audio setting is from your side.
I know.
I only have a mic.
It's just you have a
people are telling me
you have a very crappy mic. That's the whole thing.
What are you talking about? It's your setting. My videos are fine. It's your audio setting.
I'm just messing with you, Armin. I'm just messing with you. It's probably my issue. It's probably me.
What do I do? Let me see what I can do. I can't do anything. It's not my setting.
You shouldn't overheat. I think
Can you reduce your hold on? Maybe I could do something on Skype.
I'm taking your stream from Skype, so it's
Okay, let me see if I could do something with Skype. Okay. Because audio microphone. So I could do reduce testing. Is that better, guys?
that sounds better to me. Please, everyone, let me know if that sounds better to you.
Just change it. The Skype setting. My mic is fine. I changed the Skype setting.
Was it about automatically adjusting mic settings on Skype? I think that setting does something. Everyone, please let me know if that sounds better. If you're still here, people say it's better. Okay, one person said it's better.
One person said it's better. Oh, Susanna is here. Susanna is great. Susanna saying you two are the best. Happy Atheist Day. Happy Atheist Day to you, Susanna.
Awesome, fantastic. So,
Okay. Microphone is fine now, right?
yeah. Oh, Susanna made a super chat. That's what I mean. You two are the best. Happy Atheist Day. Thank you so much, Susanna. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. And people say the sound is now better, so we can keep talking. Wonderful, fantastic.
Did you guys not understand? Like the mic level, was it so bad that you didn't understand anything I said about Atheist Day?
No. I heard it too. People could understand you. It was just there was a lot of vibration.
I think it's just my voice that is annoying. People just don't know me. Oh, you guys are super chat saying please fix the microphone, Armin. I just did. People saying it's better. You still need to.
He did. I'll check quickly one more setting here to maybe make you a little less loud and me louder. Maybe I just need to be louder here. Okay, let me know how that is, and I don't want to be stuck too much on technical issues. I will nevertheless follow what people are saying about the sound. Other than that, I'll go on. So. Raghav Sunil just became a prophet, and is now a member of the channel. Members of the channel are called prophets. So everyone who wants to join the channel and who wants to become a member becomes a prophet of the channel, becomes an actual prophet. That's how easy it is to become a prophet. That's even easier than Muhammad became a prophet.
Wait, I can try something with my mic. Okay, hold on. 1 sec.
Okay. While Armin is trying to fix that, I want to talk about the coronavirus, our favorite topic of the day. Coronavirus is currently going around and infecting a lot of places. We are in lockdown. I am personally supposed to be in lockdown. I'm not supposed to go out, which is everything is kind of suspended. I'm also I'm studying, working, doing this, taking care of kids. So I have no idea how I'm going to get through this week in lockdown. You're interrupting me, Armin. That's very rude.
Is that better though?
Is it better, everybody? Does it sound better? Yeah. Maybe it is. Let people know. People let us know. Yeah. I have no idea what is going on. Anyways, I'll look at the comments. You can look at the comments too to see if it's working or not, if everything is fine or not.
Okay.
The coronavirus is going around. It has been increasing around the world. Not very much in China, but very much across the Western world. It is now also arriving in some Muslim countries and increasing there too. Asia has it kind of surprisingly under control. I saw some people or some opinions on the internet and on the media say that it's that the fact that Western societies are such open societies might have contributed to the outbreak of the coronavirus, to the rapid spread of the coronavirus in the West. It's something that I've come across, which I thought is a fair point. But then, what are we going to do with that information? What do you think about that, Armin?
I want to maybe talk about the coronavirus in Iran because that will be very relevant to your channel because
Okay.
now you can see how the religion influences the coronavirus,
Okay.
right?
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot
Islam.
to talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know, but Iran is one of the worst hit countries.
Yeah.
It was it kept on switching between third and fourth, and it was at some point second worst country, but it's really really bad in Iran. And the main city that was hit hard in Iran with the coronavirus was the center of all things Islamic in Iran. Right? Do you know about the Qom,
Yeah.
the city of Qom? So the city of Qom is kind of like the Vatican of Shia Islam. There are a few cities in Shia Islam that are very important. You have Karbala, you have Najaf. These are holy cities, but Qom is the center of education, and where all the mullahs go get to educated. All the main scholars or the main Shia leaders have been educated in Qom, and Qom's religious authority is really, really high in Shia Islam. And there's some conflict between Qom and other cities, but Qom is the main authority. Um, so imagine that. Imagine this main city, the most religious city in Iran, being the number one place hit with the coronavirus. Now, here's the thing: there's two cities in Iran with the highest shrines and religious gatherings, and that's Qom and Mashhad. And these are places where, and this is something that Sunnis hate about Shias, the fact that they kiss the shrines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Sunnis think that Shias don't worship Allah, they worship dead people, they worship the Ahlul Bayt, right? And
Can you elaborate
their
what
idol
Ahlul
word,
Bayt is quickly?
the family of the Prophet, the closest family of the Prophet, right? So they, in Islam, you're supposed to have Tawheed. The most important thing in Islam is Tawheed, which is the oneness of God and worshiping God and nothing other than Allah, right? And Sunnis claim that Shias are mushrik, basically have gone against the very essence of Islam, which is not worshiping anything other than Allah. Because Shias, they sometimes pray to their imams, right? Like you can see Shias saying, like, instead of saying, "Oh God, please do this to me," they sometimes say, "Oh Imam Ali, please do this for me," or "Hussein, do this for me," or Fat. They pray to their dead religious holy figures, right? Sunnis never do that, and you can see in Shias, they go to the shrines, they kiss the shrines, they pray towards them, they kiss them. When they pray towards them, like they're praying towards the Kaaba, which every Muslim is supposed to do, but they put the shrine between them and the Kaaba, so in essence, they're praying towards the shrine. And the Sunnis think this is idolatry, right? And shirk, which is the greatest sin in Islam. But all the kissing, but imagine, you're kissing the shrine every day. Oh, hundreds of people are coming and kissing the same metal on around the covering around these dead people. I don't know what they're called. So it's a perfect thing for spreading disease. And this was pointed out by a lot of people, like, okay, this is probably why this is the center of coronavirus in Iran, and we should close this down. And in response to that, a lot of religious people got offended because these shrines. So here's the thing: Sunnis, I don't know if Sunnis do this, but Sunnis don't claim that there's a holy place where you go and that has healing power, right? That seems like not a Sunni thing to say.
Well,
That seems
Sufis,
like
Sufis kind of do in
Sufis,
Islam, in Sunni Islam, but yeah, that's different.
yeah,
They're also
Sufis
accused of
and
being
Shia,
idolaters.
yeah, exactly. Sufis do that, Shias do that. Sunnis think that's kufr, like that's like bid'ah or whatever. Shias have always claimed that these shrines are a place of healing. So you would think that instead of telling people not to go to these places, that's where you're supposed to go. And what happened, a lot of videos started coming out of these very religious people going out and not just kissing the shrine in defiance, but licking them. Licking the, like, look, give me your, they were like challenging this, like, oh, give me your corona, give me your corona. And everybody was going and licking the shrines, and there was this video of this dad, like he was licking the shrine, he was making his son lick the shrine, like, look, our faith, they're saying they're trying to break our iman, they're trying to, iman means faith, and or they're trying to break our religion, this is a conspiracy, this virus is an American, or it's either an Israeli Zionist invention or an American invention, and it's all fake, and they're not going to be able to take our religion away from us. So the people were challenging it, and for a while the government didn't respond to that because, again, remember, these are very, very religious people. Okay, this is supposed to be the government's base support, right? But when you talk about Qom, the people in Qom are, it's hard to imagine, but they are even more fanatic than the government itself, right? So at some point, when the disease started spreading more, the government finally came in and like, okay, we're shutting down the shrines. Okay, this was an extraordinary thing. Like, this was the government admitting that these shrines are not a place of healing, and if we want to stop the spread of disease, we need to shut them down. And in response, a lot of very fanatic Shia people started coming out in protest, trying to break the barriers to the shrines, right, to go in, and they were protesting against the government. Okay? And this was bizarre to a lot of people because usually when you see protests in Iran, it's mostly the anti-religious or the more liberal type against the government, but these protests were the uber-religious people against the government, right? So, and the difference was when the people, the liberal people were protesting, and you usually see a lot of police come and they start shooting them. But these religious people, the government doesn't dare come and stop them, right? Because they're supposed to be the government's base, right? Man, I can't believe it. Like, I was looking at these protests around some of these shrines, and some of these Shia mullah-looking people, they were speaking, and the people in the crowds, one of them started shouting, "Curse Khamenei!" And I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, these are the religious people, and you would I never imagined that seeing that among the religious protesters, somebody saying Lanat bar Khamenei, which is curse Khamenei, for closing the shrine. Like, they started cursing Tehran because Tehran is the capital, and this is Qom, and your Mashhad or Qom. They started cursing Tehran. One person at least started cursing Khamenei. And so what the narrative that the government is trying to come up with is that these are UK influenced Shia, because there is a fight between, okay, so among 12 Shia Muslims, right, you have different groups, right? You have the Iraqi-based ones, which are kind of friends with the Vilayat Faqih 12 Shia Islam based in Tehran. Sometimes they ally with them based on political needs. Sometimes they're competing with them, but they work with each other. But then you have the Shirazi 12 Shia Islam. So the ones that are in charge of Iran and run Shia Islam in Tehran, their ideology, you could see them as Khomeinism, right? Uh-huh. They believe in the concept of Vilayat Faqih, right? But the 12 Shia Islams that are the main competition to them as like their enemy, they're the Shirazi-based Imams, and a lot of them are in the UK, right? And there's this conspiracy theory that they're backed by the UK government, and I don't think they're backed by the government, because I think a lot of people in Iran don't understand that there's freedom of speech in the UK, so people are like, oh, why is the UK allowing them to operate and have TV channels? Well, because they do that with everybody, right? So, but the conspiracy theory is that they're UK backed and they're challenging the Shia leaders in Iran, right? So now, every time in Iran there's a dissent among religious Shia Muslims, they get the accusation of like, oh, you're Ingilisi you're one of those English imams, right?
English.
Or the U, which means like UK backed, one of those Shiraz imams. And you could see when I was watching the videos of these protesters, a lot of them were like, "No, we're not with them. We were with the revolution from the beginning. That's false accusation." We're like, like a lot of them start talking about their credentials. Like I was at the Islamic Revolution. I was loyal to Khamenei. Some people like, "Oh, I fought in this war and that war." Like, "Oh, I'm the family of martyrs," blah blah blah. So they keep on trying to say like, "No, we're not with the Shirazi Imam," but that's the easy way to dismiss them. So, because it's really hard to admit that, wow, we now have dissent even among the Shias against the religious people against the government, right? That looks really bad for the Iranian government. So this coronavirus situation in Iran is bringing out some dissent among ranks that we did not expect, and it looks really bad. So they have to come up with an explanation for it, and that's the explanation that they're coming with. Another way that so coronavirus started in bomb in Iran, and if you track it, the doctors track it came from bomb to everywhere else in Iran. Uh-huh. So it is potentially true. I don't know how true this is, but it is possible that Shia Islam is the main reason why Iran got infected so much by the coronavirus, right? And if you look, Iran is also responsible for infecting a whole bunch of other countries, right? So it really astronomically increased the spread of it, but based on the measures that they didn't take, and based on the people challenging the coronavirus by licking the shrines. Look at the videos they're discussing. Another thing that happened because of religious reasons in Iran is that a lot of people started coming and saying that the remedy for the coronavirus, they started bringing up Islamic medicine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Islamic medicine to cure the coronavirus, and some of them were hilarious. There's a lot of examples of that, but a lot of people started believing them and following them, and doctors who came out against them in Iran were being accused of being anti-Islamic. Because there was a lot of hadiths that suggest like, look, this is Islamic hadith. Are you saying these hadiths are wrong? Like, and the doctor's like, yeah, this is not medicine. This is wrong. So now they were being accused of not respecting the religious authority for their expertise.
I saw there was a video.
Yeah,
I saw this thing earlier this morning when I woke up. I see how the religious authorities, the religious figures in Iran, among the people, are kind of taking matters into their own hands and acting like they know what they're doing about this disease. Like they were on the street spraying vehicles, spraying cars, and telling people what to do and stuff like that. And I thought, what the hell, man? And I'm looking at the numbers, and it's steadily still spreading and increasing, and the death count is rising. So they're obviously not doing the right thing, but they don't realize it.
There's one video that is going viral of this mullah with the whole costume and everything. He came to the corona section of the hospital, the current quarantine section. Like, first of all,
I saw that.
Yeah. How did he get in? Like, this is supposed to be quarantine with no medical equipment or anything, just his own religious clothing. And he had this thing that he was in his hand, this liquid. I don't know what he had in his hand. And he was saying that this is from the Prophet. I don't understand how did he got it from the Prophet Muhammad. And he went from one corona patient, and he put it on his lips, I don't know, nose or something, and he said some religious stuff. And he kept on saying this is from the Prophet. And then he went to the next person, and he put it on them, and he was going to everybody, and he was like, "You're spreading the virus." Yeah. Like, he had no gloves, nothing. And he was touching their nose, and they're like, "Oh, this is from the Prophet." And and then he went out with all the thing on his hand. It's as if, like, if you didn't know, if this guy was not an idiot, you think he's like trying to spread the virus. He was like, "I'll take the virus from you, I give it to you, I'll take it from you, and I give it to you." It was so bad. And this video is going viral. And now recently, so these people, like, a lot of times you listen to these, and the expectation is like, okay, a lot of these religious leaders are morons, right?
Uh-huh.
But the very, very high up people there, usually are a lot, based on my experience and things that I have seen, they're not that stupid, okay? It's just the religious, like, B grade religious leaders are that stupid. But just, I don't know, it was yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. I think it was just yesterday. The highest authority on in land, okay, in Iran. Like this was shocking, and I know this is not shocking for the people in the audience, because a lot of people in the your audience and my audience, they're like, oh, religious leader, obviously crazy. They're gonna say wacko things, right? So for them, it's not shocking, but for me, this was shocking because this was a level of crazy that I didn't expect from that high level official. Okay. So I know it's you guys don't get shocked by this, but based on my experience, this was shocking. Okay, based on a lot of people's experience in Iran, this was shocking. So the highest authority in Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme religious leader in Iran, just came out and he said a few things about, in his New Year's announcement. Oh yeah, this was just yesterday. So this was Iranian New Year, which was everything was canceled. This is supposed to be a time that everybody goes traveling and goes sees family and stuff, but everything in Iran has gone to. I can't swear on your channel. Your audience doesn't like swearing. But so he came out and said that, first of all, Iran doesn't have just human enemies. Iran also has demonic enemies, right? So that was not a good start. But then he went on to say that, United States is coming, and first of all, he admitted to the whole land that United States is offering aid to Iran.
Uh-huh.
And then he said, like, why would we accept aid from a country that has potentially created the coronavirus? So that level of conspiracy theory, I'm used to that level of conspiracy theory, right? But I'm not used to it being said from the supreme leader. He is sanctioning such level of nonsense that I've never seen from him before. He was saying that United States potentially created the coronavirus, and he also suggested that some experts are saying the coronavirus was designed to target Iranians genetically. Like, the reason why Iran is being hurt more than other countries is because the coronavirus was genetically modified in a way to hurt Iranians. So he thinks the whole world right now is potentially suffering from the coronavirus because Iran was the target. Like, think about how important you think your country is, that the whole world's economy has to suffer because Americans wanted to target Iran with this virus. So that's the level of nonsense we're dealing with. And this is not from a random mullah talking at this random mosque. And it's not just a leader. We're talking about the supreme religious leader. We're talking about the highest authority in all of Iran coming up with conspiracy theories that even children don't believe.
I wish I could put it on the screen, but I cannot put it on the screen right now because it will just be too hard on my computer for some reason right now. I don't know. But Khamenei basically said on his Twitter account too, on this Twitter account that's where his tweets are, he said the U.S. government has declared a few times that they are ready to help Iran with medicines to fight the corona outbreak. That's strange. Firstly, based on the words of your own officials, you face shortages in the U.S., so use what you have for your own patients. Second, you are accused of having created the coronavirus. I don't know how true it is, but when there's such an allegation, can a wise man trust you? You could be giving medicines that spread the virus or cause it to remain among us. Experience shows you can't be trusted, and you do such things. And then he goes on with how how God took a pledge from all the prophets, and how the Prophet Muhammad had a lot of enemies, which means that we as Iran and as Muslims also have enemies, and one of the greatest enemies is America, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So he's basically it is the leader, the highest, the supreme leader of Iran, talking to the media and tweeting on a Twitter account this huge stupid conspiracy theory that America actually created the coronavirus, and that America is also actively trying to infect more people in Iran and kill more people in Iran with the coronavirus.
It's one level of stupidity to say that United States created the virus. It's another level of stupidity to say the United States created the virus specifically to target Iran. Think about
That's another level of completely ridiculous. I mean, it is currently affecting the entire world. It is shaking the West. The West is. I mean, if you are talking about how America is your enemy and the West is your enemy, and then you look at coronavirus statistics and numbers right now, you see that the coronavirus is currently shaking the West and forcing everybody to take extreme measurements, to go into lockdown and all that stuff. So how does it in any way make sense to say that it was their making, and when they are currently suffering from it the most? It's ridiculous.
And how stupid you are that you're announcing. Okay, so you're announcing to your base that, by the way, if you guys didn't hear, like, you're doing United States promotion for them. United States offered to help us, right? So a lot of people that listen to him speak are anti-American and they don't hear about these things. But you now let them know that, United States offered to help Iran, even though they consider you enemy, right? And but we're not going to accept that because, I think I like this because I think half of his base are less stupid than that, right?
Yeah.
So I think he might actually make a whole bunch of people that support him and be like, wait, what? Right? So I think it's. People in Iran are getting so sick and tired of religious mumbo jumbo, right? Like, more and more people are coming out, and like, as the level of people so openly talking against Islam in Iran is getting more and more. Like, people are making fun of Khamenei's announcement, speech on their social media. Like, when I was back in Iran more than a decade ago, you will never be able to say the things that people are saying now. I mean, it's still very risky. You can still get killed, but still, like, people are so sick, and it's not just like political. The people are sick of religion. People are sick of religion. There was this guy that his son died during the protests, right? His son was shot in the head during the protest because it was one of the people that were protesting against the government, right? And his father is like coming out and speaking against the government, and the government is gonna keep threatening him. And he constantly said, like, what are you guys are gonna threaten me with? You guys took my son. I don't care anymore. Like, you could do whatever you want. Oh, he's too. Who's that?
That's my dog, Blaze.
Oh, he's najis. He's najis, by the way.
Yeah, it's dirty according to Islam. I'm not supposed to touch him and interact with him like this.
Well, you can touch him, but you have to wash your hand before you pray.
It depends.
You have to wash your.
Yeah. It depends on what school of Islamic thought you belong to. And some of them you can touch him, but you have to wash yourself after that. And some you're not even supposed to touch him. I'm not supposed to have him here in a room with me, anyways. That's like, I'm preventing all the angels from coming into this room right now. They're all scared of the dog. Angels are scared of dogs.
Really?
Yeah, the angels don't want to get into rooms where there are dogs. Look at this.
I didn't know that one. I thought angels are afraid of naked people. That's why. Yeah, that's why some Muslims don't. That's why some Muslims have sex with clothes on. Isn't that true?
Yeah, there is a thing that you should. There is a scholarly view where you should. If you have sex, you should keep your clothes on. You shouldn't take your things off, your underwear completely off, or
because if you're completely naked, then angels will not be in the room while you're having sex,
Yeah.
and if the angels are not in the room, then Satan will be able to come in the room, and then you're gonna have a baby while Satan was in the room. So that's why
And
you shouldn't completely take your clothes
exactly,
off.
exactly. And you're also supposed to say a few words, that you're doing the sex in the name of Allah. If you don't do these things, and if angels are not there to protect you, then Satan comes, and Satan might have an influence on your baby. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Since you only have sex in order to make a baby, that's what you are supposed to.
I wonder how many Muslims know these things. They don't know any of these.
Not many. I mean, the religious ones, they know it. The religious ones know it, but regular ones are not usually aware of that whole stuff.
By the way, I follow a lot of Islamic content, like YouTube channels and stuff. I've noticed there's a there's a bigger push these days to dismiss the hadith. And they're coming because I think they have realized that there's no winning this game. There's no defending the hadith, right?
Yeah.
Like the hadith is so ridiculous that I think a lot of Islamic leaders, like a lot of the content creators and stuff, they've realized that if they want to defend Islam, they have to let go of the hadith. Not that the Quran is defendable in any way, but now I've noticed more than ever before they're coming up with content for why Sahih hadith doesn't necessarily mean that it is true, right? And just because the hadith is Sahih doesn't mean that you can't dismiss it. And there's a lot of I don't know. Have you noticed that there's more than before?
Yeah, there is a thing. There is a trend among especially online people, especially people who kind of who as individuals go online in order to kind of seek Islam and defend Islam on social media, who say stuff like, well, you cannot trust every hadith, you cannot trust hadith, and even among some professional Muslim apologists, some apologists who go online and even on YouTube channels want to defend Islam, they take, as you said, they take Sahih hadith. For example, there is a hadith which is classified as hadith, and Islamic scholars spent so much. Islamic scholars spend so much time arranging which hadith is authentic, which one is good, and all that. And if there is a certain hadith that really doesn't make sense, that really sounds absolutely ridiculous, then they say, well, we can't dismiss this because it contradicts this and this knowledge that we have, or this narration that we have.
Right.
What's funny is actually there is something about the coronavirus, which is not about the coronavirus, but there's something about infections which has been going around. I don't really want to. I thought of making a video about it, but I also kind of think I don't really want to make videos about diseases right now because it kind of feels like I'm taking advantage of the situation. But there is a.
Oh, come on! Don't let people intimidate you into not making content when it's timely to making content. Then
I just feel bad about it. That's the thing, I just personally kind of feel bad about that. I mean, to.
So it's kind of like you know what? It's kind of like, people selling masks right now. Should they be like, oh, I'm not going to sell masks right now because I'm going to be taking advantage of a disease? Should doctors stop working because they're taking advantage of diseases? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's not the same thing. They're actively trying to.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same. I'm exaggerating to make a point, but I'm just saying, like, should we not talk about something so relevant to society because then it looks like you're taking advantage? Like, no, come on. Make it while it's relevant. Make the content while it's relevant. That's when you make it.
Thanks,
people.
Thanks everyone for the comments about the dog. By the way, it's a Labradoodle. He's thank you so much. He's very sweet.
What's his name?
Blaze.
Should give him an Islamic name. Abdullah.
Abdullah. Abdul Rahman.
Abdullah.
Abdul Ghaffar. But yeah, I was wanting to talk about this hadith in which Muhammad says that in which Muhammad clearly says that there are no infections. That infections are a superstition. That infections are a superstitions of the previous pre-Islamic people. And then someone says, someone says, but oh prophet, then why, when we put a sick camel together with healthy camels, the camels, all the other healthy camels also start getting sick? And then he says, well, if that's your logic, then what gave the first camel the disease? That's what Muhammad says. You know,
is this Sahih Hadith?
These are several Sahih Hadiths. I swear I would
Wow.
put them on the screen. I don't wanna crash the screen right now. I would make a video about that. But he actually says there is no infection. And when someone says, but what about the camels who infect each other? Then and Muhammad says, well, then who infected the first one? That's what he says. He actually
Right.
does that. When you ask Muslim apologists about that, they say they kind of try to twist that and say what we shouldn't understand it that way. What he actually meant is that it is Allah who gives you the disease, not so it happens only with His permission. That's what he was trying to say. You know.
Then why didn't he just say that?
I know.
The answer to most of the interpretations of these apologists is like, oh, okay, if that's what he meant, why didn't he just say that? like you're saying it. Why are you? Here's what I say to a lot of Islamic apologists. Why are you explaining it better than Allah? Right?
Exactly.
Why couldn't you just say it in the same words that you just used?
Well, they do the same thing with the Quran. I mean, I made this video just recently about how the Quran very clearly explains that the Earth is this flat surface with a ceiling on it and all that stuff. And if you know, on a plain reading of the Quran, that's what you understand. You don't understand anything else. But then people come and say, well, you actually have to understand this way and that way and this way. But seriously? I mean, just think about it. If you sat down and you didn't have any idea what the world looks like and what the universe looks like, and if you only read the Quran, you would clearly understand that the world is this bed, and that there is water around you, and that there's a ceiling above you, and the stars are hanging out up there in the sky, and they will fall down one day, and they're tiny things.
It's so clear. Like it's so stupid that we even need to explain. Like obviously this is like a flat Earth model. Like, but you have to be very dedicated to your nonsense to be able to read it in any other way. By the way, somebody in your live chat is saying Armin is a hypocrite and ignorant and blind Western atheist fanatic and extremist. His so-called atheism and anti-theism is the result of the Abrahamic idiotism. Is that a word?
Oh, that sounds like a no offense, but it sounds like a very offended Hindu person who's offended by
somebody that doesn't like my views on Hinduism. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
You know what? I think Hindus are not used to be like Hindus are now just learning that people could actually attack their religion. I think Muslims have been and Christians have been dealing this for a long time. Hindus have been like nobody has been going after the religion for so long, and now when people go after the religion because they're very sensitive, right? I think Christians are the least sensitive because people have been going after the religion for like thousands of years, so they become desensitized. Muslims are starting to become a little bit desensitized. I mean, even compared to 50 years ago, when you join Muhammad 50 years ago compared to now, imagine the difference, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole Islamic world lost their mind when you join Muhammad, right? Yeah. But now it's like, oh, we have an annual event for it, and it's okay, right?
It's my
channel. And I think, yeah, exactly. But I think Hindus are like, what's happening? Right? Why are people being mean about our religion? What is this? We're not like, and so they're losing their mind because they're not used to it.
To be very honest, I would say that most Hindus don't take it in a bad way. I mean that's my experience. Since when people ask me about my views and my perspectives on specific beliefs, I just say them, and I see that most people just take it quite well and okay. But there are definitely a lot of people who among them who very
Hindus are right now the most sensitive people online. Honestly, like when I attack Islam, okay, I get less people losing their mind and getting triggered than when I attack Hinduism. When I go after Hinduism, people just like they are so sensitive, man. They're not used to it. And it's funny because they get triggered while claiming that they're not sensitive and they're not being triggered. They get triggered, like they come out after. They're like, and the main lines are like, at least we're not gonna behead you, and we're not gonna blow you up. We're like, oh wow, thank you so much. I am so grateful for letting me live, for not killing me when I insult your religion. How very nice of, like, well, if your standard is Islam, everything looks great, right? Like, what an achievement to be better than Islam, right? You basically take the crappiest of all ideologies, and you're congratulating yourself for being better than that. Like, what do you want? For medal for being better than the worst of the worst?
Yeah. I want to reply to some super chats. By the way, we have talked a lot about Iran and the flat Earth. By the way, there is another hadith. While I'm opening my super chats to see the past super chats that I want to mention, there is another hadith about the whole diseases. By the way, Muslims, many Muslims go around right now saying, "Oh, our holy prophet told us the solution to diseases. He said, if there is a plague, then stay where you are and don't go to different lands and that stuff." And that sounds nice, but. First off, people were aware of how to treat plagues before Muhammad. But secondly, Muhammad isn't actually saying that. There is a hadith in which Muhammad actually says that a plague is something that is a punishment from Allah upon a certain people. And but it is a punishment, but it is also a blessing. That's what he says. He says, so if there is a plague outbreak where you live, if there is a plague where you live, then don't flee and stay there and pray to Allah, because when you die, then you will be a martyr. That's what he says. And the Islamic teaching about it is that a plague is a punishment, not a natural occurrence, which means that if there is one, then you should just pray to Allah and trust in Allah, because Allah will eventually decide if you die from the plague or if you survive the plague, because it comes from Allah, not from diseases.
But it's so weird, because you would expect for so much text, like hadith is so much. I think a lot of people don't understand how much bigger the hadith is compared to the Quran. Like, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
I always think like it's a bigger miracle to produce that much text with no good advice.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes I'm shocked because even if it's just all random nonsense, you would expect to find some good advice here and there sometimes. But it seems like they have managed to actually pull off a miracle, because it's very hard to find good advice in hadith. Have you come up with any good advice in the hadith?
Not really. Very hard.
But it's like, it cannot be no good advice in the hadith, like, because that's a lot of text.
Yeah.
Come on, like, after all these years of studying the hadith, have you not come across any good advice in there, in Islamic hadith? I mean, the Quran, I could name you one good advice. The Quran, taking care of orphans, I think that's good. Like, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Well,
there's probably some good in the Quran, some good in the Hadith. Definitely.
What good is in the Hadith? Can you think of anything? I can't think of anything.
That you shouldn't beat your wives too hard, and then sleep with them afterwards.
That is not good. That is still sanctioning. That is still telling you, basically indirectly telling you that you can beat your wife.
That you shouldn't beat your wife like you beat your slave and then go and sleep with them. Like, that's
That's not good advice, because that's basically saying slavery is okay and wife beating is okay.
I don't know.
Is there any pure good advice in the hadith? Any, like, people in the live chat, help us out here.
I might have some bias. I don't remember one. Yeah. But
which one?
I don't remember one. I might have some bias, but I don't remember one. But it's also because
I'm worried that
because
if we really can't find something, then maybe we're being too biased. Because I want to find a good. Let's find some.
We just don't
honestly good at
remember it. Muhammad was kind of
yeah.
a dummy. It was kind of hard to find something good that he actually said, but he was also quite a
Yeah.
wicked person. But he definitely said some good things, but we probably didn't focus on it because obviously people just do that.
Well, okay, so you're saying, okay, so this opens a new conversation. You're saying he was obviously a wicked person. Was he really? Maybe he didn't. What do you think about these theories that he didn't even exist? What do you think about that?
I think it's very unlikely that he didn't exist.
Okay, if that's true, why is it that for hundreds of years after his alleged death, it seemed like everybody forgot that he even existed? There is no record of Muhammad until the Abbasid dynasty. Nobody mentioned, there's no, and people are like, oh, well, because they didn't write things down. No, they did. The Umayyads wrote a whole bunch of stuff. And it seemed like for more than 100 years, people just forgot that Muhammad even existed.
But the thing is, it is directly in the Quran. The Quran, the first copy of the Quran that we have is like just from a few decades after Muhammad.
Yeah, it is, but there's no Quran that dates that old that mentions Muhammad. Every single Quran that has Muhammad in it there's no scripture of Quran that old with Muhammad in it.
I'm pretty sure that we have a Quran from then, which has the surah Muhammad and also
with Muhammad mentioned in it. No,
I'm pretty sure.
Double check that. And actually here's another interesting. They have found Qurans that were carbon dated even after that, even with the error, even if you add to error, it predates Muhammad's birth. They have found Qurans that predates Muhammad's birth. Okay, even if you add the margin of error and everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, right? it might be. I heard about that. It might be that there is a miscalculation about. I mean, it might be that information about when he was actually alive, when he was born, when he died.
Why
is
is
not
it
accurate.
that when the Arabs invaded like Jerusalem and something everywhere else, when their invasions were recorded, nobody referred to them as Muslims. They were all referred to as Arabs. Nobody mentioned that they're Muslims. Why is it that they?
I remember remembering something where we have a record of when Omar was the caliph, that there was actually an interaction with a Byzantine ruler, who.
Yeah, but they were not mentioned. They were not introduced as Muslims.
Okay, but the thing is, in the interaction, in the correspondence, I think the Byzantine authority, I don't remember who it was, accuses Omar of he said they're talking about Muhammad, the prophet, and I believe that he accuses them of inventing Muhammad or inventing the Quran, and that such a person never existed. But
I don't know what the letter that you mentioned was that. I know for a fact that there is no record of Muhammad written. Do you know when is the first record of Muhammad written down somewhere? Is in Dome of the Rock. Okay, so before that, there is nothing older than that with Muhammad's name on it. There's nothing older than that, and that was made in the Abbasid dynasty. Okay, so the Umayyads, they had coins. They had never mentioned anything about Muhammad in their coins. They never mentioned. There's not a single fragment or like written somewhere on it with Muhammad in it during the entire Umayyad dynasty or before it. Okay, there is not. It was like Abbasids came and like, oh yeah, by the way, our prophet is. And all the hadiths about Muhammad's life, about everything he did, about everything he said, it's all 100 to 200 years after his alleged death. 200 years. When I say 200 years, it's as if like imagine like we didn't know anything about Napoleon.
Wait, I would say it must be 100 because he was mentioned.
150.
He was mentioned in the things in the biographies. And
150 to 200.
Ibn Ishaq was like 100 years or 150 years after Muhammad.
Okay, but so there's two biographers that one of them says that he got his biography from the other one, right? So we have Ibn Ishaq, and what was the other guy that copied that? The actual text from that guy was later. You know what I mean?
I understand what you mean. When was this written?
So just because somebody claims that I got my biography from somebody earlier than me, that doesn't mean that he actually got it from somebody earlier than me. Because the text from the other person that he claimed that he got the text from does not exist. Mm-hmm. So you could say like, oh, I got this from so and so, and he got it from so and so, and he got it from so and so. What we have recorded is that the paper that we have, right, this is the oldest one we have, right? Like, why would they? Okay, just tell me, what's your theory? Why would the Umayyads not mention Muhammad? Why would the Umayyads never mention Muhammad? Why would they have crosses on their coins?
I don't know. I haven't ever looked at the Umayyads, but I believe that the Umayyads were known to have a very what? No, they were known to have a very I mean, their theology was basically very similar to today's traditionist or Salafi or visions. So they were very much focused on the teachings, on strict rule, on strict appliance of the law of the rule. Looking at the Quran, you don't even see Muhammad's name mentioned in the Quran very much. You just see it in like in two occasions or so, in two instances, and written records of things were not really made. The Umayyads didn't have many written records about things at all. People had the Quran and people had historians. The first historian to record Islamic history included Muhammad. That was 150 years after Muhammad. So that's the first historian. But there was no other source because the Arabs, the Muslims, were just not developed people. They didn't have.
Wait. I know for a fact that the oldest mention of Muhammad was during the Abbasid dynasty, and it was in the Dome of the Rock thing. There's nothing older than that. So you have an entire dynasty that comes and goes and doesn't mention Muhammad. That's a fact. They have so many different coins. They keep putting faces of people on, like names of people on it, crosses on their coins. Okay, so but the theory is, and I don't know if this is true, but this is all very weird. Okay. The theory is that for a long time we always assumed that Islam came first, and because of Islam we had an Arab empire. Right? Now that theory is the other way around. We had an Arab empire who invented Islam many years ago, many years after they became an empire, to justify them being an empire. Do you know what I mean? It was a branding thing. They were semi-Christian to begin with. They weren't Muslim. They were a branch of Christianity that didn't believe in the divinity of Jesus Christ, that didn't believe that he was the Son of God or anything like that. And the emphasis of religion was that God doesn't have children and blah, 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 right? But then when they became an empire, they noticed that other empires have their own, like they look at the Persian Empire, and they had Zoroastrianism. They look at the Roman Empire, and they had Christianity. And to separate themselves, to give themselves the unique branding, the Abbasids invented Islam. The Abbasids invented Muhammad as their prophet, as a way to stand there, as a branding. And the reason why they created his story in the middle of nowhere, which was Mecca. Like they saying all those Mecca stories never happened in Mecca. They put the stories in the middle of nowhere because it was nowhere, nobody could go check. It's like the desert was like a plain sheet that you could just write anything on it, right? Like if you look at all the maps before the Abbasid dynasty, there is no Mecca. This was supposed to be a very important trading route. All the trading maps didn't have Mecca on it. The city does not exist.
I
People,
believe that is basically because that is mostly because Islam simply exaggerated the role of Mecca in order to make it relevant to the world, because it was important to Muhammad, and the Quran praises the city, but it wasn't important to the world at all. I think that's a very simple explanation to
but
that.
it's not just that. They've been digging in Mecca, and there's not even a single. There's nothing there to show that there was any trading going on there. Not like little trading,
Because
and
there's nothing there.
that
It's like a small tribe's place, and the people who came there trading were like a few other tribes. Islam
but
exaggerates that
there
trade
would
very
be
much.
something. There were no the trees that are mentioned in the hadith. There, even if they died later, their roots would have been there. Their roots are not there. Like after they brought archaeologists to look for evidence for the city of Mecca, and they could find nothing. Saudi Arabia started cementing that entire place so that nobody looks anymore. It's crazy, man. I don't know. Like, just it seems like a conspiracy theory. So I'm hoping. I don't want to like say that this is the case, but there's some. If this is not the case, there's some weird stuff going on. Like, why would the Umayyads completely forget who their prophet is? Why would he completely ignore that?
Okay,
Why would he completely?
you've obviously looked into this topic very much. I would like to actually. I didn't actually really. I looked at it several times. I thought it was fairly established, historically established, that Muhammad did exist. Although, one thing also I see, by the way, right now, that he's mentioned in one non-Muslim source, which is assumed to be from 636 A.D. in the fragment of the Arab conquests. Muhammad is briefly mentioned, but
There were mentions of an Arab ruler, not mentioned by name as Muhammad. The earliest one is in the Abbasid period.
okay. One thing that I would certainly take into consideration is that Hadith literature is actually fairly reliable historical literature in a way. Much of the Hadith actually can be historically seen, accepted as historically accurate in a way, because that's what Hadith literature relies on. If you cannot trust the Hadith, when they say certain things about what Muhammad said and what Muhammad did, especially multiple, reproduced, verified Hadith, then you cannot trust much of the sources that we historically use for the Roman Empire, for example. Um,
No, no, Hadith is the most unreliable source of history that there is.
I would contest that.
Uh, in fact, not only is unreliable, it's been proven to show that they were mostly political.
I think Hadith are more
Like,
reliable than the Quran.
no, none of them are reliable. They're all like if you actually look at the history of like the Abbasid dynasty, a lot of the hadith just appeared exactly when the caliphs, like when the authorities needed Muhammad to say something specific. Like
I
it,
agree.
it was, yeah.
He talks about
So it's
Turks, for example. He says you will fight the Turks, and they are these and this
chain
people.
of
That's not historical.
chain of narration is like the most unreliable way. Like, oh, I heard this. Like, this is the method. Okay, I heard this guy say to this guy, to this guy, to this guy, this, and I've never met this person, but I'm going to come up with a rating for how trustworthy this guy is. Like, what the hell is this? Like, we have proven that this is the game of Chinese whisperers. We know that this doesn't work. We know that historians themselves see this as the most oral traditions are the most unreliable way of transferring. This is why we look at the written records rather than what people said somebody else say. I mean, if you want to go, if that's our level of trust, then Bigfoot is definitely real. Like
No,
based on
no, no,
that
no,
level
no.
of,
What I mean is not that. What I mean is not that what the Hadith say, that their wording is exactly accurate, that they are completely accurate and reliable when they say Muhammad said this, this, this. They are probably not. They're probably highly unreliable in that, and
right.
they're probably very unreliable when they talk about how people observed that the moon was split in two in the sky, for example, and stuff like that. When they talk about things that happened, like supernatural things that happened, or observing nature, or quoting exact words, they're probably highly unreliable, which makes a lot of sense. That's what we would historically assume. We would say it is reported that Muhammad said this and this and this, but we don't actually know that. We just think that he said something similar to that. But what I think is reliable is that when they say Muhammad went here and said this, we know that he most likely said something about those specific words, but we don't know whether what the hadith he said are exactly accurate and reliable.
How do you know it's reliable even that he went somewhere? There's no evidence for any of this.
Because it is traced back to several different people who report about the same thing. It is
traced back by the same people that made up the entire thing. Like here's how easy this is. Okay, let me just show you how easy this is. Okay, I don't have to show you that multiple people said something. Okay, I could just be like, I'm gonna just be like, you know what? I saw so and so go from this city to this city. All right, what's your evidence? Okay, I have 4 chain of narrations. Where is your proof of chain of narrations? I'm just telling you. I have 4 chains. There's 4. There, I have this narration of this group of people and this group of people and this group of people, and they match. Oh, okay. Show me the record that they match. No, you just have to. I'm just telling you that there's 4. Okay, just because there's multiple of them, that doesn't mean that it makes it more reliable. Because it's just one person saying that there's multiple narrations. You know what I mean? Like the hadith collector is just telling you that there's multiple chains of narration. Okay. So if for example, like in Christianity, we have this, right? You're like, oh, 500 people saw Jesus go to, like, ascend to heaven or something like that. Or like, okay, but how many people are saying that 500 people saw it? Like, oh, one person is saying that 500 people saw it. So that doesn't make it 500 different people. That makes it one person.
That's different.
Right?
That's different. I would say with the hadith, you have this, for example. You have Sahih Bukhari, you have Sahih Muslim, you have Ibn Majah, or you have Tirmidhi, and you have these different authors, the authors of these different collections. And even among them, even the author of Sahih Bukhari, for example, says, I have talked to Jack. Let's use English names for better understanding. I've talked to Jack. Jack said that Manuel said, that Stefan said, that Aisha said these and these words. And then he goes and says, I have also met I don't know, Jill, and Jill said that Daniel said that Manuel said that Aisha said these and these words, and then he finds several other people that have the same thing, that are unrelated from each other, and that give this same chain of narrations. And
okay, and first of all, Stefan is dead hundreds of years ago, right?
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Here's where it gets complicated. I mean, not complicated, the opposite actually. Who's telling you all of this? That he talked to 4 different people, and they give you 4 chains of narration, and they're all saying the same thing.
Well, that's why we have. That's why
Bukhari is telling you that.
True.
Right. So if there was, like, let's say I talk to Jack and I talk to John, and Jack says something different, and John says something different, I could just make them the same thing, and I would like, look, they said exactly the same thing from 2 different sources. And you write the same thing down, right? They admitted that they themselves admitted that they changed things that didn't match their reason.
Okay, but you have this. That's why
the hadith collectors themselves make the admission that they played with the hadith to make it rationally in accordance with Islam and the Quran. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? So that means that we can't trust anything. So that means that you could have just made the hadith, like, you could just make all of it up because it didn't match, you didn't agree with it.
Okay, but that's why
we're putting too much trust in people that had a lot of interest in making sense. Yeah.
I assure you, I don't fully trust them. I think they're in many regards full of crap, and they probably a lot of hadith were made up, especially in the lesser sources like Ibn Majah or Tirmidhi or the other sources. They probably made up a lot of hadith, or Abu Dawood. They probably made a lot of hadith that were just needed in a time, and where they said, well, this person said, this person said, this person said that Muhammad said this and this and this. Especially if you cannot find those hadith in Sahih Muslim or Sahih Bukhari, but especially with these two sources, with Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, we have this occurrence that both of them work independently. Bukhari and Muslim work independently, and they talk to several different people, and we bring those sources together, and we find that both of them report.
These stories were on everyone's lips. Do you really think it's hard to get the same stories if from two different people that are working independently from each other?
I think it would be very hard for people to make up so many stories.
No, they don't have to make up. Look, so when you have superstition going around the land, people come up with 1,000 different stories, right? Imagine if you believe in, I don't know, there's a monster under your bed and he brings you cookies, or I don't know, or eats your children if you're bad and brings you cookies. Just make up a story. Just come up with a base story and then let people's imaginations come up with the details, right? There's going to be so many different people coming up with their own versions of the story, and they're going to add details to it. They're going to add more different colors of the monster and some, different versions of it, and add fairies to it, add demons to it. There's going to be so many different. Now, as a hadith collector, I just have to come and be like, okay, I like these ones and I don't like these ones, and these ones, more people are saying this, so this seems like to be authoritative or sahih, and this person is trustworthy and he heard it from that guy, and that guy really saw it under his bed, and there's 4 people that are saying these things, and there's multiple people that are saying they saw the exact same monster under their bed, so this is trustworthy. But then somebody else that works independently from me, you think he doesn't have access to the same stories that are being spread and talked about in society? Obviously, and he knows which ones are going to be politically convenient, which one of them are not going to be politically convenient, which one of them more people trust, which one of them are more popular, which one of them are not popular. Obviously,
I think so. I agree with you. I mean, a lot of people will probably make up a lot of things according to their beliefs. But take one example, a hadith that I like very much, which goes into the direction of something like Muhammad went out one day and he saw a woman outside, and he immediately felt troubled by the sight of the woman. Then he quickly ran home and had sex with one of his wives, Zainab, who was currently busy. And then he went out and said, the woman comes and goes in the shape of a devil. So if one of you sees a woman outside, he should quickly go to his wife. Why would people make up this hadith? Or why would people tell each other that hadith? Why would people treat this like the cookie monster, for example? That clearly sounds like several people, and we have I think over 5 sources to that hadith, over 5 different sources to that hadith. Different people clearly look like they have heard this person and that person say that they witnessed that Muhammad said this thing, which also sounds very embarrassing to the average Muslim.
Okay, so why is it that so many people different that have not met say that aliens probed them in their butts? They never met each other, right? They never met each other. They never coordinated. No, they're saying the same story. Okay, they're not saying the same story. They're like they were abducted by aliens. It seems weird. Why, from all the things aliens could do, why would they probe something in your butt?
I think it's a false equivalency.
Never met each other. They never communicated.
I think we should equate natural occurrences that are completely normal to happen to a supernatural.
You're saying why do people come up with weird stories? If you're asking why people come up with weird stories, you don't understand humans, okay? People come up with weird stories, right? and also once the story becomes popular, more people are gonna say it. So if you're a hadith collector, you know that which story is it really weird that 2 different hadith collectors that are not working with each other are collecting the same stories that are popular? Even if they haven't met each other, even if they're not working with each other, I don't think that's weird at all. I don't think
think
that makes the stories any more legitimate.
I,
By the
th-
way,
I
you got
think
a super chat that you didn't read.
I will come to the super chats very quickly. One final thing I want to say is you know there is a thing, a comparison between these two issues. For example, one of the issues is we have three sources that report that, or two sources that report that that one night the moon split in two, and the two pieces of the moon went toward the mountain, and the other went toward the other, and you could see the mountain between the two parts of the moon. And Muhammad then said, "Behold," that's what he said. So we have two sources saying this. On the other hand, you have another source say. Wait. What was that example? Come on, I just had something in my mind. Something very stupid, something very dumb. Oh yeah, you have one example of of how Muhammad said, of how someone came to the Prophet and said, "Oh Holy Prophet, when is Judgment Day going to come?" And Muhammad looked at them, and turned toward a child who wasn't there present and said, "If this boy will not age very much, and the day of judgment will come." That's what he said. These hadiths were reported like 2 centuries after Muhammad's death, which means the boy that Muhammad pointed at was long dead. And if you read the hadith, you clearly see that Muhammad points at a child and says, "This guy will not grow very old, and Judgment Day will come." Muhammad has been proven completely wrong by this hadith. This is an embarrassingly wrong hadith. It's completely wrong. On the other hand, you have the moon splitting, which reports about an unnatural, supernatural event, which is supposed to reinforce people's beliefs and make them believe in something great that happened, which a miracle that happened in Muhammad's time. You could now look at this and say, well, two people talk about the moon splitting in the sky. That's not something that happens, and we can probably dismiss that as complete bullshit. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's a supernatural story that probably doesn't make any sense. But why would these other people, these four people, come and say Muhammad said that day to these and these people that this boy will not grow old and the judgment day will come?
Well, because a lot of the Muslims during that time were not as in agreement that Muhammad never said anything wrong as we are today with Muslims, right? So that, remember, like, not every single Muslim believed that Muhammad never said anything at all that was wrong. In fact, we have hadith that Muhammad gave some bad farming advice. And he even told the farmer, "Why did you listen to me? I don't know how to farm." You shouldn't have listened to me.
That's a good point, yeah.
I mean, so it could be because maybe a lot of people at that time didn't see like Muhammad as infallible. Like maybe, some people did, but not all people did. But your example of the moon is a good example, because me and you know that never happened. Okay, the moon didn't get cut in half, right? And if it did, how did the rest of the world miss it? So the fact, but we have multiple chain of narrations of people saying that they saw that, right? So here we have multiple chain of narration of people saying that they saw that, and we know it didn't happen. So this shows how unreliable multiple chain of narration is, right? Yeah. So
that's a good point. That's a good point. But we can talk about
that. Oral tradition is the most unreliable source. Written is the best one we have, and the written ones are like 150, 200 years after Muhammad's death. I mean, this is what Ali Rizvi says. It's like as if, imagine if we had no written records about Napoleon, right? Is that how you say it? Napoleon. Napoleon, right? Now, in Persian, we say Napoleon. Napoleon. Okay, Napoleon. Napoleon, if we had no written record of him until today, and people started writing about him today, imagine how accurate would that be? Imagine that. Imagine we had no idea who he was, what he said, and people today, based on oral tradition, after his death until now, because how many years ago was that? Like 200 years ago or something, right? Mm-hmm. Based on the stories that was spread about him from then till now, with no written record, if we start writing about him today, how goddamn unreliable. That would be so different from whatever that man was, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, if you just give people 2 days with no written record, stories change in 2 days. In what have you played Chinese? You have seen Chinese Whisperers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So imagine giving 200 years to stories like that, not just like one Chinese Whisperers game, right? Even today, with all social medias and cameras and reporters everywhere and people recording everything and writing down and investigative journalism, what you see a story happen, and then once the report comes out, you see like it's a complete. Like even now, you see stories change within weeks, and it's all over the place, and people are having so many different versions of the same story, even though we have audio recording and video recording and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if you only had oral tradition for 200 years and people starting to write it down after 200 years. Imagine how unreliable that is. It's not reliable. And Muslims keep saying that this is the most reliable. It's more reliable than scholarly, the highest standards of Western scholars. It's not. It's actually the lowest standard. Oral traditions is the most unreliable way to figure out how history works.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think.
But look into that. I would be very okay. If anybody should make content on this, it would be you. Okay, I would be.
I will.
You would be my number. Like, by the way, when it comes, I should tell your audience. Every time I want to refresh my mind on something, I know that you have a video on it. So I'll just search for it I search for apostate prophet and the topic, and I'll look for a video. So I know. So it's not just the videos that you make; it's just like the whole, all the catalog of all the previous videos that you have. It just serves like a library. So this would be a very good addition if you look into it, because it's something I'm very interested in, and I don't know what the answer is. Like I'm not saying Muhammad did not exist. I'm saying I don't know, and I'm saying that the people that say he exists do not yet have enough for their case. Maybe he existed, but I don't think there's real solid evidence that he existed. So you looking into it would be very interesting.
Thank you.
And also the Qibla.
I will do that. I was planning on making a video about the historicity of Muhammad long ago. I kind of gave that up because I thought it was irrelevant, but it's not. I should look into that. I'll make a video about the whole hadith situation. I need to study that much longer. I think that needs some very genuine readings. But
you know why this could actually convince a lot of, if there is no evidence for Muhammad's existence, I think this could impact a lot of Muslims more than, there's no evidence for this and this, because Muslims love conspiracies and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you might actually be able to attract a lot of Muslims if you could show them, because this will capture a lot of people's attention, a lot of Muslims' attention, right? By the way, have you looked into whether the Qibla, you know what I'm talking about? The Qibla directions being towards Mecca, towards Petra instead of Mecca?
I believe that the whole Petra story is not really not a good point, but I will hopefully talk about that sometime. I think there's definitely talk about how it was towards Jerusalem first, but Petra is kind of a very unlikely story. I'll look into that. I mean, I don't have much time. I'm supposed to be home in like 20 minutes because
okay, go.
We're in lockdown. I need to take care of the children. I cannot work.
Can I do a shout out to my channel for people to come out? And
I'll quickly read the super chats. I'll come back to you, give you a final word. No worries about that at all. I appreciate your time completely too, and it was a great chat. I'll come back to you. I'll quickly go through the super chats here. I don't want to miss them ever. Susanna made a super chat. Said you two are the best. Happy Atheist Day. Thank you so much, Susanna. Nicholas Paulson.
I'm glad Susanna is here because most of your audience doesn't like me. So thank you, Susanna, for the support.
Everybody,
Go.
I don't want to tell anyone what to do, but Armin is quite a nice guy and quite a good guy. So I really like talking to him. Nicholas Paulson made a super chat, said, please fix the microphone, Armin. That was earlier, but that's solved. Raghav Sunil became a member of the channel. Avinash Acharya became a member of the channel. Thank you so much and welcome, guys. I'll interact further with you in other chats. I really don't have very much time left right now. Leela Krishna made a super chat and said, is it okay to translate your videos to Indian languages? Please feel free to do so. You don't need to credit me. You should pay me. It would be good if you credit me, of course. It would be good if you link the channel. But if you want to do that, I will never be able to do that. If you want to do that, please go ahead and do that. And thank you for the super chat. Did you want to say something, Armin?
Oh yeah, I know a lot of the people here wouldn't like Atheist Republic because Atheist Republic attacks, goes after all religions. But if any of you are into that, you could also check out Atheist Republic. But most of the people in your audience want to focus on Islam,
Yeah.
and I like that about your channel because there should be a channel that focuses on Islam. I don't get people that tell you why you're focusing on Islam. I mean, I think you're the main channel that is focusing on Islam, and I want you to focus on Islam because we need your channel to do that. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even care anymore. I just say, hey, I don't want to explain why I just focus on Islam. I just do and deal with it,
Yeah. So for the few minority people here that don't hate me for going after all religions, you can check out Atheist Republic YouTube channel. By the way, every time I come here, I do get a boost on Atheist Republic. So thank you for having. Yeah.
Okay, wait. I'll come back to you, Armin. I need to go through the super chats. I'm not done. I'm sorry.
There's more super chats?
Yeah, there's more. Okay. Stojkovic made a super chat and said, hello AP, what's your opinion on Islamic fatalism when your sense of reality is Allah running the whole show? Non-existent concept of freedom of choice, therefore no responsibility for anything. It's a critical, complicated topic, but it's a very dominant idea in Islam that the world is basically just unimportant, that Allah is everything, that we shouldn't focus too much on progress, not focus too much on life and all that stuff. It is a very dominant thing in Islam, and Muslims often frequently tell themselves stuff like, just remember that we will die soon, and that one way we will die. I hope we will just die on the right path. It's a very depressing attitude. I will make more stuff about that in the future. But thank you for your super chat. Solitary Emmy made a super sticker and made a high five. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Judy Deutsch made a super chat, didn't add any comments. Thank you. Judy Deutsch made another super chat and said, goodbye, Mohammed. The Syro-Aramäische Lesart Quran. Oh, that's in German. Die Syro-Aramäische Lesart Quran. Yeah. Okay. Whatever that was supposed to be, I don't know. But thank you so much, Judy Deutsch. I appreciate the super chat. And Playster made another super chat and said, my first YouTube donation ever. Excellent conversation, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much, Playster. I appreciate that very much. That was all the super chats. Go ahead, Armin.
No, you should go because I know you're busy. But I always like hanging out with you. So thank you for having me. It's the most fun conversations I have. Really? You and Ali Rizvi are the two most fun conversations I have. I could talk to you guys for hours.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. I really like talking to you. I think it's a lot of fun. We interact very well together, and it's nice. I like talking to you, and I like talking to David Wood. That's always very much fun. We should have a talk together sometime. You should destroy each other's beliefs and our philosophies, and I should just sit there and watch you. That would be. He
came on my. I did have a chat with him. I forgot.
I saw that. I was there.
Yeah, he's nice. I like him.
He is. All right.
It's usually but the ugly stuff happens in the live chat. I usually think that the conversation between us and you and David Wood and everyone else, it's always very friendly, it's always very civil. But then you look at the live chat, everybody's like hating on one side or the other, like everybody's getting angry, or like, look at us, we disagree and we're having a friendly conversation. Just calm down, it's okay, people can be friends and have disagreements. I don't know why people in the live chat sometimes can't do that.
Well, I think David is also one of those people. You are too. We are ready to just ignore our differences and just talk about them very nicely and interact with each other as if there's as if we are not enemies, because we are not. So that's really a good quality. That's good.
Disagreements are not a big deal, guys. Okay, you shouldn't. Here's what I always say: don't make agreements a condition for friendship.
Yeah. That's true. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining the talk. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Sorry for the little technical issues at the beginning of the
It's not my
talk.
Fault. It's not my fault.
It's probably my fault. Yeah, but you all know it's actually Armin's fault. Thank you all so much for joining. Armin, do you want to say a few final words?
Happy Atheist Day, everyone, to everybody. And if you're not an atheist, please go wish atheists a happy Atheist Day. Just show them that you don't have to agree with them to support them. So please use the hashtag Atheist Day. And come check us out on Atheist Republic. Search for Atheist Republic on YouTube and subscribe. Even if you don't agree, we do live streams. Come tell us why we're wrong. And we do change our minds sometimes. Based on what people say to us.
Sometimes.
So, sometimes. But I actually have changed my mind about a couple of things recently, so I'm happy. Because if I don't change my mind about something for a very long time, something significant, I get worried. I'm like, oh my God, am I being so dogmatic? Why haven't I changed my mind about something? But recently I changed my mind about two major things recently, so it shows that I'm being open-minded.
Yeah. That's a good value. That's a good value to have. That's a good value to have. All right, you can find Armin on Secular Jihadists YouTube channel and on Atheist Republic. He's the founder of Atheist Republic, and you can also find him on Twitter and on Facebook under Armin Navabi and Atheist Republic. Armin is a very good guy, so I appreciate him having him here. Thank you, Armin, so much for coming. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. We'll talk again tomorrow. I'll have a live chat with for all the people who have been asking me about India. I will have a live chat with Sham Sharma show. I'll have a.
I've been there.
He'll be here on my channel actually tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening in India. I think on Wednesday I should be talking to Imam Tawhidi for all those who are wondering about that. And for now, I just need to go home and get through the lockdown here and take care of kids and work and everything at the same time. It's crazy times. But thanks so much for coming. Stay at home, everybody. This is a PSA. Stay at home. Don't go into large crowds. Don't touch each other.
Wash your hand. Don't touch your face.
Don't touch each other in public.
Do the things that is always good for your immune system as well. Drink a lot of water. Sleep a lot. Exercise, don't eat processed food, and eat a lot of vegetables. That's good for your immune system always, not just now.
Yep. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a fantastic rest of the day, and stay away from Islam.
Yes, and processed food.
And what? Okay. See you, everybody.
Peace.